What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Shelf, and today we are talking about The Substance, the new film from French filmmaker Coralie Fargeau. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Now, this will be a video that contains mild spoilers about The Substance, so if you haven't seen the film yet, go check it out, and then come back and watch this video. So yeah, this movie kind of came out of nowhere for me. I haven't been watching trailers lately, or at least I'm trying not to. So yeah, didn't watch the trailer, and then it began to get heaps of praise from people that I follow online, and it became quite clear very quickly that this was one that I was probably going to need to go check out in theaters. And boy am I glad I did, because this is easily going to be probably the surprise of the year for me. So essentially what you have in The Substance is this story following an aging actress played by Demi Moore, who is starting to age out of Hollywood and is sort of past her expiration date imposed on her by Hollywood. So she becomes informed of this substance called the substance. And basically when you take this substance, it allows you to spawn a younger, better, more pretty, perfect version of yourself. The catch is you have to spend a week in one body and a week in the other one, without exception. So you're essentially splitting your consciousness between each body. So Demi Moore's character, who's named Elizabeth Sparkle, is initially opposed to the idea, but circumstances in her life start to occur that eventually kind of force her to cave, and then she goes ahead and gives it a shot. So then she takes the substance and it spawns her counterpart, Sue, played by Margaret Qualley. So the rest of the film kind of follows them working on this dynamic where they're switching back and forth. Eventually, Sue begins to want to spend more time in her body, the younger, better version. And by doing this, because you can do this, but by doing this, there are some pretty disastrous consequences that come about. And the movie that follows this is one of the best, body horror, social satire, and overall just fever dreams of a movie that I've seen in quite some time. The film is not very subtle about the message here. It's sort of commenting on the way that Hollywood chews up and spits out its talent, specifically with women. It's sort of touching on plastic surgery and unrealistic beauty standards that are imposed on us by the media and Hollywood. So in a lesser movie, these themes could very easily be mishandled and be too on the nose, or as subtle as a brick in the face. And this film's not super subtle either, but the way it goes about it is very interesting, because it does so through the vehicle of a body horror film that would make a guy like Cronenberg smile. It sort of has some flair of Edgar Wright mixed with Stanley Kubrick as far as the cinematic language goes, which is a crazy combination, and it works really well here. And it also boasts two really great performances from Margaret Qualley, and even more so from Demi Moore, who I think is the standout here. This is probably the best thing she's ever done, in my opinion. Dennis Quaid also plays this really sleazy TV executive who is sort of meant to embody a lot of the scumbags behind the scenes you would encounter in Hollywood. He's having a great time with the role. He fully understood the assignment here, and he's just hamming it up and having a blast in every scene. Demi Moore, though, is fearless in this movie. I did not think that she had a performance like this in her, to be frank. Although granted, I have never quite been super familiar with her body of work, so I was never the authority on her career to begin with, but to me, it's this has to be the best thing she's done. At times, she's unhinged, vulnerable, sympathetic, and overall just magnetic to watch. She really carries this film on her back. Her counterpart, Margaret Qualley, is slowly becoming one of my favorites. She continuously seems to pick really interesting projects, from Poor Things and Sanctuary, both from last year, being some recent standouts. Coralie Fargeau demonstrates such a mastery of her craft by being able to craft this world that feels both very much like ours, but also has this weird offness to it, if you know what I'm saying. This movie has such a clear and confident vision, and she executes it masterfully. The way she moves the camera in this film is so kinetic and has this real feeling of urgency, and helps this 2 hour and 20-minute film feel like a breezy 90 minutes. It's paced really well. I was pretty much continuously wondering where this movie was going. It basically had me like eating out of the palm of its hand. The editing, the sound design, it's all incredible. Pretty much on a technical level, effects-wise and everything, this film is like flawless, I would say. The interesting thing about this movie too is that despite being this like freaky ass body horror fever dream of a movie, it has these very clearly defined stakes and rules that are so essential to allowing us, the viewers, to be able to buy into what's happening and like understand it and be invested in it because we can clearly understand what's going on. It's very easy to follow. If Elizabeth/Sue doesn't switch back to her body every 7 days, bad things happen. It's that simple. Eventually we realize that Sue can borrow more time from Elizabeth's body, but by doing this, bad things happen. Thematically, this movie has a lot to chew on and leaves you with a lot to think about after the credits roll. The way someone I know online put it, it basically is weaponizing the male gaze against the audience, sort of pointing the finger at us as we're like drooling over the Margaret Qualley character, basically. This does this because it's trying to shine a light on the issue found in the film and an issue that is found in real life, which is sort of like the way that the media defines beauty. The way that the film chooses to photograph Margaret Qualley's character and the way that people react to her presence is very deliberate. And it can be directly contrasted with the way people react to Demi Moore's character being that of the aged actress. The way people respond to them is different based on how they look. The film is basically calling out this hypocrisy. It's very effective and illustrates the different ways that women are objectified and subsequently disregarded after they've outstayed their welcome, according to the media. The film calls out these beauty standards and uses them as both an empowering allegory and a cautionary tale, all of which is being conveyed through the medium of this cringe-inducing body horror film. Really the only thing that I don't love about The Substance is that, despite the pacing being really good, there are a few scenes that sort of go beyond the point of getting their point across and sort of outstay their welcome. For as tight as I found this script to be, I did think it could be just a little bit tighter. Perhaps it's nitpicky, but due to some of the excessive nature of some of the scenes in this movie and just sort of the way that they go on for a while, I found that that could potentially hinder rewatchability for me. So if I'm going to mention anything as a negative, it would probably be that. Despite these admittedly minor issues, the film is just incredible on nearly every level. It's well made and well acted and has some interesting things to say about modern beauty standards. And it does so in a way that could almost be mistaken for glorifying them. The film opts to take the voyeuristic approach rather than the outwardly berating the audience approach. Especially when you consider the fact that this is directed by a woman, I think this approach works well because clearly the intent is to call attention to this issue. Ultimately, the film is saying that women in general are beautiful, but our perception of beauty as a society has been warped by the media that we consume. The film even has a moment towards the end where a beautiful young woman is literally falling apart and is being told by a man that she should smile. I found this to be a pretty noteworthy moment, and I was able to take stock of that as being a metaphor for what must be a daily occurrence for a lot of women. Alright, so that's my take on The Substance. I'm very interested in learning more about this movie, so in the very likely event that I've missed some integral part of the puzzle here, please post about it in the comments and tell me what you picked up on or thought that the movie was about. I would love to hear your comments about this movie. It's very interesting. People are really seeming to like it, so there's a lot to talk about here. In addition to that, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't. We talk about new movies, old movies, physical media, and horror in general. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, then you're definitely in the right place. And with all of that being said, please remember to take care and watch more movies.